Hi guys, this is the Audiofool, and for today we're going to review the Tannoy XT8F speakers. Here we have a fine specimen, the Tannoy XT8F, definitely gorgeous and made by one of the older speaker manufacturers. To be perfectly honest, I've always heard of Tannoy, but I thought they were like a cheap Chinese brand until a couple of years ago. I was shopping for speakers and I said, what the heck, let's listen to a Tannoy, since apparently this is a What Hi-Fi 5-star speaker. I got to audition it and I got blown away. And then I got blown away again when I heard the price. At the time, I got the LS50 instead, but part of me was always thinking about that XT8F because I was really impressed. It turns out that Tannoy is also one of the pioneers of the concentric speaker designs, which is used by my beloved KEF LS50s. So we'll find out which is better. But before that, let's take a closer look. It might be the plinth, but it has a stance which immediately impresses. We have the 8-inch dual concentric speaker and an 8-inch woofer, both multi-fiber paper cones. The 8-inchers are large, but not as large as my 10-inchers. Dirty Weekends. Stands 42 inches tall and weighs around 20 kilograms. At the back, you have black, and more black, and more black. And at the bottom are the dual binding poles should you want to bi-amp them. Again, very beautiful speakers, looks quite elegant, and it shouldn't pose a problem with your partner as long as you don't tell them it costs $2,600 or 1,300 pounds. First, we compared to the KEF LS50s using the Shit Ragnarok and Yggdrasil. For trials of the pass by subtract, the Tannoys easily make the 3 notes, and the LS50s cannot do the 3rd note, but it can actually do the bass notes a bit firmer than the Tannoys. The Tannoys also have a taller, deeper soundstage, and the vocals are almost as wide as the LS50s, although it's much leaner sounding. For I've Got You Under My Skin by Frank Sinatra in a duet with Bono, both speakers seem to be as wide as each other, but the Tannoys have a smaller vocal image and it's much thinner sounding. The Tannoys do have a more holographic sound and manages to separate the instruments better, but the LS50s sound more solid and it's much fuller and more satisfying. For Don't Know Why by Norah Jones, the bass in the LS50 strike harder than the Tannoys, but the Tannoys do have more bass textures that you can hear. The LS50s have front and forward vocals, like a giant head singing to you. The Tannoys have a smaller image, but it does seem to be better rendered, better balanced. Vocals are still the focus of the song in the Tannoys, but instruments aren't placed too far behind. For Alicia Keys' If I Was Her Woman from the MTV Unplugged album, the bass in the Tannoy seemed to be overpowering as it does lots more SPL compared to the LS50s, and it's also not as firm, so it sounds like the LS50s are more sure-footed. The Tannoys do have better separation and better placements of instruments, but the vocal and piano notes in the LS50s are a much better listen as they're more full-bodied compared to the Tannoys, and I prefer listening to them. For Pints of Rome by Spiggy, the Tannoys have a taller, deeper soundstage, and again, they separate the instruments better than the LS50s, which sound a bit compressed and more like a recording in comparison. The LS50s have a flatter soundstage, yes, but they do provide the thicker, fuller feel, so while an analytical song might be a better listen in the Tannoys, they just don't feel as grand as if you played them in the LS50s. Against the Tektons, it was a unanimous decision in favor of the Impact Monitors. It was actually a close call in Trials of the Past and Don't Know Why because the Tannoys had more even bass and I like the guitar notes better in the Tannoys. But ultimately, I gave it to the Tektons. Overall, the Tannoys are slightly more forward for vocals, but it just lacks body. The Tannoys are also a bit more aggressive in the treble, having a bit more sibilance and brilliance, but not really to the point of distracting. The soundstage is deeper in the Tannoys, but the Tektons have a wider soundstage, and also, instruments are more easily separated. Piano notes are much better in the Tektons, but as I mentioned, I like the guitar notes better in the Tannoy. Tektons also punch and slam harder and have more volume in the bass. I'm actually quite confused with the results. When I first got the speakers, I thought to myself, wow, these are fantastic, and they're easily the best speakers I've had in my listening room. And then I had to compare it with my two other speakers. And it didn't do so hot in the competition. It simply lacks mid-range, and that's what's really bothering me with these speakers. My wife says the same thing. When she first heard it, she loved it, and then she heard it back to back against the Tektons, and now she don't love it no more. It might be the amp, so I also tried it with my Pioneer N22s, and while the sound did improve a bit, the results were still largely the same. In fairness though, I was really having lots of fun with it, really enjoying the speakers, and I certainly did not feel it thin sounding at all, at least until I compared it. What I like the most about these speakers is that they look fabulous. They have this stance which screams I'm expensive, and they certainly would place well in a posh home. They also sound fantastic as well. It digs deep, the highs are quite pronounced, it has that holographic imaging, very clear and clean sounding. And most of all, they're a fun listen. I really enjoyed listening to them. What I don't like about them is that it's a bit hard to drive, and you need a 3-ohm capable amp to max out its potential. But of course, if you can afford them, then you probably can afford that capable amp as well. And what I hate about it is that it just simply has that hole in the middle. It lacks mid-range to make it really perfect. Maybe my choice of speakers to compare to were unfair. The LS50s being a vocal showcase and the Tektons a mid-range powerhouse. Because without compared, I certainly did not notice it being thin sounding at all or lean. And I really want to like it because it's really impressive, and all of my friends who heard it really loved it. But I just can't live with it knowing that it doesn't compare well to my two cheaper speakers. So I've been audibled. Great speakers as long as there's no competition. Thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoyed this video. If you have any comments or suggestions, just write them down below. See you in the next video.